were deceived. And now your republic shall fall.
Such words were uttered by not only one of the most powerful, ferocious, and brutal combatants, but none other than one of my favourites, Darth Malgus. Darth Malgus is unquestionably the most powerful and ferocious Sith warrior and acolyte to ever live, being the famed Sith warrior and war general, essentially being the Darth Vader of the Old Republic. Malgus was notable for his proficiency with the Force and immense skill in lightsaber combat, making him one of the greatest Sith lightsaber duelists, even above the likes of Palpatine, in all of Star Wars history. Malgus wore a respirator after sustaining brutal injuries at the hands of Satele Shan and after the Battle of Alderaan, a battle during the war known as the Great Galactic War. However, today we will be noticing and delving into the ancient Sith holocron of what was Malgus's most famous achievement. Malgus was a man that bore many achievements over his long lifetime, but the most famous of these achievements is an achievement that only one had achieved afterwards, and only one, as far as we know in Star Wars lore, will ever achieve. The secret treaty that the Sith had been plotting essentially came out of nowhere and carved a path of destruction that would eventually decimate the Jedi Order, and Malgus was the frontman of this assault. Before we continue on the lore video of one of the greatest Star Wars characters and my favourite character in all of fiction to ever exist, I would like to remind you that if you wish to ascend to the rank of Master and have the combat skills of Darth Malgus and the Force prowess of Darth Sidious, then strike down the subscribe button. It is your destiny. Now, with that out of the way, students of the Force and acolytes of this great channel, prepare to learn about the in-depth lore of the sacking of Coruscant. The earliest recordings and documentations revolving around this event, the plans for invasion, were speculated to begin as early as 3660 BBY. In the aftermath of the Rim campaign, the Sith Order planned to take advantage of the thin spread of Republic forces around the galaxy, which were primarily stationed in outlying systems along the Imperial border. By order of Supreme Commander Rams, the Dark Council decided that the strike force was to be led by the prominent Sith Lord and Master known as Darth Angral, while a smaller secondary force, led by the Sith Lord Darth Malgus, the cunning warrior and most famous military tactician and Sith warrior, known for his brutal and ferocious lightsaber proficiency and mastery, would lead an attack on the Jedi Temple, dispatched directly to it, with a group of 50 Sith Lords. Although Malgus, in his pride and arrogancy, wished to lead the assault on the temple alone, Angral, the leader of the assault, insisted that their fellow Lord Adras, a political ally of his and a rival of Malgus's own, serve as a second-in-command in the attack. Before any of the Sith could proceed, however, the defense group protecting Coruscant had to be disabled. The task fell to the Mandalorian Shai Vizsla, who travelled to the Eucalyptus in advance of the Sith. Darth Malgus also travelled to the world prior to the battle, accompanied by his slave and lover and eventual wife, Alina Daru, a stunning Twi'lek with lime icy blue skin. Malgus, who for years in the Sith Empire's military had expertise in organising surprise attacks and secretive movements, orchestrated and began working on a plan for entering the Jedi Temple that involved hijacking an NR2 gully jumper, depositing 50 Sith warriors and lords directly into the building, including Malgus, Daru, and Adras. This plan required that Malgus serves as a distraction for the Jedi Order, and more particularly Ben Zallo, while the vessel entered the airspace of the Temple District, not wanting to draw attention to the incoming Sith bombardment. As they waited for Vizsla to complete her assigned objective and for his warriors to get into place, Malgus toured Coruscant with Daru, admiring and criticising the world one final time before its inevitable destruction. Meanwhile, the Peace Summit was being held on the core world of Orizon, a planet that had previously come under attack by the Sith Empire. The Republic delegation, led by Senator Paran Amris and Jedi Master Dal Nalar, met with the Imperial delegation led by Sith Lord Darth Varas to insert a possible cessation of hostilities around the galaxy and violence. Barras maintained the facade of a peace-seeking diplomat early in the negotiation processing, which all made the more believable by the Sith's withdrawal from their offensive in the Minos cluster as the peace conference began. However, Darth Malgus received word on Coruscant that Vizsla had compromised the defense grid without alerting the Republic authorities and Jedi Order, and that the dropship was in position to begin its descent. With that, the Sith unleashed their assault on the world.
We grew stronger. While you rested in your cradle of power, believing your people were safe and protected. You were trusted to lead the Republic, but you were deceived. As our powers of the dark side have blinded you, you assumed no force could challenge you. And now, finally, we have returned.
Darth Malgus, the Dark Lord of the Sith, and the most ferocious Sith warrior in all of history, was finally bringing his vision on Coruscant that he had accomplished 20 years earlier to fruition by abolishing the Jedi and destroying the Galactic Senate. He was enacting everything that the Sith sought to achieve ever since they had begun construction. Malgus and Alira Adaru traveled to the Jedi Temple on foot, approaching the ancient edifice via the professional way. As they neared the temple's main entrance, the two were surrounded by Republic soldiers and guard who had been assigned to guard the building, while most Jedi were away, either fighting with the brutal tactics of the Sith or participating in the peace talks negotiating on Alderaan. Malgus quickly dispatched all of the security personnel effortlessly with his lightsaber mastery and continued to go into the core of the temple itself. Meanwhile, Shae Vizsla infiltrated the temple's ziggurats through an exposed hatch in order to join the Sith in their fight within and conflict with the Jedi. The Mandalorian continued to battle Republic security forces in the temple's upper levels, while throngs of curious Jedi confronted Malgus and Daru approaching, unwavered below. Padawans gathered on the upper mezzanines to see the Sith as he was confronted by a cadet of 6 Jedi Knights, led by one master, Ven Zallo, whose dueling prowess, at least during this time, Malgus considered to be an equal in the Force, but not in lightsaber combat. As Zallo and the Knights approached Malgus to bar him from penetrating any further into the temple, the Sith warriors within the Republic dropship piloted the vessel directly into the vast doorway, shielding the main entrance. The dropship smashed through the large gate that served as the temple's main entrance and hangar, and continued to reduce much of the entrance hall to rubble, causing the pillars to crumble down in clusters of stone. The careening ship and the huge mass of rubble it formated crushed into a number of Jedi before coming to a halt directly behind Malgus and Daru. The dropship's hatch flew open to reveal the 50 Sith warriors, led by Lord Adras, as well as several Imperial soldiers, who ignited their crimson blaze, illuminating the craft's dark interior. After disembarking from the craft, the Sith forces were attacked by dozens of Jedi in defense of their own temple and sanctuary. The Jedi and Sith fought a vicious, brutal, massacring battle, battling one another with the Force and their kinetic energy lightsaber blades, while Daru darted through the heat of the battle, assisting her lover. When the Twi'lek slave was nearly killed by a Zabrak Padawan, Malgus intervened, the blood of the Dark Knight running through his veins, fueling his intentions and power, and killed the Jedi. Meanwhile, Adras cut a swath through the fray, using his telekinetic powers to throw the few surviving Republic soldiers across the hall. As Malgus loosed bolts of Force lightning against a number of his opponents, Vizsla revealed herself and engaged Republic soldiers with rockets and a flamethrower, armed on her Mandalorian equipment, such as Cad Bane, Jango Fett, and Boba Fett would use many, many years later. Immersed in the infinite knowledge and power of the dark side of the Force, Malgus continued on to slay many of the temple's defenders, while his Twi'lek lover provided support for him by using her dual blaster pistols and provided support for the other Sith Lords. Malgus' primary goal and mission during the melee combat was to hunt down and kill Zallo in the maze of bodies, whom he felt was the only combatant worthy of his attention and time. Zallo was meanwhile making headway against the Sith warriors, killing a number of them and rebuffing Adras's attacks. When Malgus finally located the Jedi Master, Darrow attempted to assist him by firing at Zallo with a barrage of blue lightsaber bolts like eyes. This tactic, however, backfired literally, and Darrow was deflected her bolts, bouncing off Zallo's emerald blade, shooting them back into her body before throwing her against a column with the force that had collapsed. Zallo's attack on Darrow enraged Malgus, who unleashed a force scream that toppled some of the surrounding architecture of the formerly renowned and beautiful Jedi Temple. The Sith Lord and the Jedi Master closed the distance between one another, killing any opponent who crossed their paths. Upon finally meeting, Zallo and Malgus entered into a fierce duel, fighting one another back towards the processional way, although their duel was interrupted by fellow Jedi and Sith, who desired to intervene and take the title of killing a renowned duelist for themselves. The two defeated all of their other opponents with ease, using the Force and funneling it through their body, with Malgus deeply immersed in his rage, as a Sith warrior always should be. They focused on one another. Zallo was able to use his lightsaber prowess to defend against Malgus for a time and evade many of his attacks. But the Jedi Master eventually succumbed to Malgus' dueling prowess and kinetic energy that was generated by his own style of the gem so, quickly felling and eventually falling to the Sith Lord's power, who thrust his lightsaber through Zallo's abdomen and chest. With their leading master dead, the Jedi orders numbers were quickly decaying, and their remaining numbers defeated. Among the Jedi who fell were a pair of married Jedi Knights, the Triguda Roliand and Yalia Zavros. The Skirmish One, Sith secured the temple and destroyed the defense group mainframe that lay within the structure before Adra signaled to Malgus and Angral that a strike had been a success. Angral's naval forces entered Coruscant space and were hailed by Orbital Security Station 6, a Coruscant security space station monitoring all incoming traffic to Coruscant. Femi, a Twi'lek aboard the station, did not recognize the vessels of the Sith and their dreadnoughts, and addressing the incoming Sith warships in request to the clearance code, Darth Angral responded viciously by ordering his admiral to open fire on the station, thereby killing Femi and everyone else on board the craft. This fleet, led by Angral's flagship, Darkness, pushed forward into Coruscant's own atmosphere and began ravaging the cityscape with a barrage of attacks, as Mark IV Supremacy-class starfighters, B-28 Extinction-class bombers, Sith battlecruisers, and Imperial war droids razed the Temple District, descending in a void of chaos down upon Malgus and his fellow warriors sat at the ruined entrance of the Jedi Temple and watched the galactic city that had stood as the beacon of the Republic fall finally under Malgus' own leadership. That was the greatest feat ever accomplished by Sith warrior Darth Malgus. Darth Malgus, as I have stated multiple times, is one of my favourite characters in all of Star Wars, and my favourite character in all of fiction. With his vicious lightsaber proficiency, Malgus was renowned as one of the greatest duelists of all time, and later, Palpatine and Darth Vader would recount his texts, with Palpatine wanting to gain inspiration, and have Vader become a monster similar to Malgus. Well, my friends, I hope that you have ascended to the rank of Master and have learned more about the lore surrounding Darth Malgus. Goodbye, Acolytes, and I'll see you in a galaxy far, far away.